The family dinner unfolded exactly as I remembered. Tight smiles and even tighter judgments. Uncle Martin droned on about real estate slums while Aunt Diane poured another round of Pinot Noir. Across the table, my cousin Tyler couldn't stop boasting about his new role at J.P. Morgan. Just another Saturday evening in the Whitmore household in Charleston. Dayon is still focused on it. Another shaky quarter, Uncle Martin muttered, slicing into his prime rib. Glad we stuck to tried-and-true investments, right, Tyler? Tyler nodded, self-satisfied. Blue chip stocks, municipal bonds. Slow and steady wins the race, he said, turning to me with a smirk. Not like some folks in their digital gambles. I smiled politely and sipped my sparkling water, ignoring the burn in my throat. My lawyer's emails still lingered in my mind. Tomorrow was the big day, but for tonight, I let them talk. I still can't understand why you wasted your inheritance like that, Maya, Aunt Diane said, shaking her head. Your grandfather worked so hard to leave something meaningful behind. I remembered it well. 6 years ago, Grandpa Henry had gifted each grandchild $150,000. Tyler had split his between mutual funds and a down payment on a condo. Our cousin Elise used hers to launch a travel blog that fizzled out within a year. Me? I went all in on blockchain infrastructure and early-stage AI companies. May as well have set it on fire, Uncle Martin scoffed. What they didn't know was that the $150,000, every cent, had been the seed money for Whitmore Nexus Capital, my private fund focused on frontier tech and decentralized solutions. While they rolled their eyes at my risky plays, I had quietly built something no one at that table can imagine. Still holding on to your little crypto stash? Tyler teased. Hope it's worth more than a Starbucks gift card now. I glanced at my phone. The confirmation had arrived. Tomorrow morning, Whitmore Nexus Capital would go public on the New York Stock Exchange. Our initial valuation? $2.4 billion. It's holding up, I replied casually. In fact, I've been meaning to tell you all about Nexus. Did I mention my new place? Corner office, skyline view, it's everything. Uncle Martin raised his glass. Now that's how you grow real wealth, responsible decisions and patience. My phone vibrated again. A message from my CFO. Bloomberg wants your quote for tomorrow's open. They're expecting fireworks. Aunt Diane leaned over. Maya, dear, have you considered letting Tyler help you with what's left of your money? Just so you don't lose the rest. I nearly choked on my laugh. Tyler managed a $70 million portfolio. Last month alone, my firm had finalized a $300 million position in a next-gen cybersecurity platform. Thanks, I said, still smiling, but I think I'll stick with my team. Tyler scoffed, if you say so. And I did, because tomorrow morning the headlines would read, Tech rebel Maya Whitmore takes Wall Street by storm. And for once, the whole family would finally know exactly what I'd done with that inheritance. Last I heard, you were working out of that cramped little co-working space downtown, messing with, what was it, digital coins? Tyler chuckled as he reached for more asparagus. That cramped little space was our temporary hub while our new headquarters finished construction. 51 floors of steel and glass in Midtown Manhattan, with Whitmore Nexus Capital glowing across the top in electric blue. About that, I began, but Uncle Martin jumped in. Your grandfather would have been devastated, he said with a heavy sigh. He wanted that money to give you a real future, not bankroll some tech daydream. I bit my tongue and thought of Grandpa Henry, the man who made his fortune investing in IBM before the world took computers seriously, the man who told me just weeks before his heart gave out, the future rewards the bold. Be first, be right, be patient. Actually, I said, reaching into my bag and opening my laptop, I wanted to show you something real quick. Oh, sweetheart, not another one of your blockchain videos, Aunt Diane groaned. Tyler, why don't you explain how proper investing works? Tyler puffed up. You see, Maya, real value comes from diversification, market resilience, steady growth. You can't just throw money at trends and expect returns. I let him continue while my laptop screen loaded the NASDAQ pre-market dashboard. My eyes stayed on one line. WNX, Whitmore Nexus Capital IPO, opens in 27 minutes. Demand was sky high. The underwriters had already raised projections. Soon, the entire Whitmore family would know the truth. The girl they said squandered her inheritance, she had built one of the fastest-scaling private funds in North America. But for now, I pushed a piece of roast beef around my plate and let them lecture me about real finance. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served over dinner. It's wrung in from Wall Street. The next morning, sunlight streamed into my corner suite. Yes, the real one overlooking Bryant Park. CNBC played silently on the wall-mounted screen. The opening bell was just half an hour away. WNX projected to be the largest IPO of the year. The ticker flashed beneath a smiling anchor. My phone buzzed. Tyler. Breakfast at the club. Dad wants to drill you about responsible investing again. Before I could type a reply, Sarah, my assistant, burst through the door, eyes wide. It's live. She turned her tablet toward me. The Wall Street Journal. Tech visionary Maya Whitmore to launch game-changing IPO. Wall Street buzzes. Do they know yet? She asked, smoothing the ceremony agenda. They're about to, I said with a grin. Then my phone rang. Mom. Maya, honey, she said, trying for warmth. Can you come to breakfast? Your father's just concerned. He says it's not too late to make wiser choices. I glanced toward the glass wall. Reporters and photographers now lined the plaza below. Actually, Mom, I said, can you all meet me somewhere instead? Where? Turn on CNBC. What? Why would we? Just do it. I hung up just as my CFO stepped in, holding the finalized numbers. Pre-market demands through the roof, he said. We're shattering projections. I smiled, straightened my blazer, and headed for the elevator. Let them watch. Let the world watch. If you've ever been doubted by the very people meant to believe in you, stick with me. Hit subscribe and join me for what happens the moment the bell rings. We might open above $220 per share, my CFO said, eyes on the screen. The elevator dinged. My legal team stepped in, carrying the ceremonial bell for the NASDAQ opening. Everything was in place. My phone buzzed wildly. Texts, notifications, missed calls. Then came the ping from the Whitmore family group chat. Tyler. Why is Maya's face on CNBC? Aunt Diane. What's Whitmore Nexus Capital? Uncle Martin. Is this some kind of mistake? I typed back 2 words. Watch and see. Sarah turns up the volume on the wall screen. The CNBC anchor's voice filled the room. In what's being hailed as the investment story of the year, Whitmore Nexus Capital is set to go public today. Founded by 32-year-old Maya Whitmore, the fund began with a $150,000 inheritance and now dominates the frontier tech investment space. My phone rang again. Tyler. I hit speaker. Maya, he stammered, tell me this is a different Whitmore fund. Remember that computer money you used to laugh at? I asked calmly. It just made me a billionaire. The anchor continued. With strategic positions in blockchain infrastructure, quantum computing, and next-gen AI, Whitmore Nexus has yielded returns of over 1,100% in just 3 years. Another call, this time Uncle Martin. Uncle Maya Evelyn Whitmore, he barked. What the hell is going on? I took a deep breath. The inheritance you all said I burned. The elevator doors opened again, and there they were, Orton, Uncle Martin, Aunt Diane, Tyler, all of them still in their country club breakfast clothes. They stepped out, stunned, into the atrium of our headquarters. Glass walls, LED tickers, CNBC cameras everywhere. A sea of reporters and investors filled the space, all facing the stage bearing the Whitmore Nexus Capital logo. I stepped forward. Welcome, I said gently. Would you like a tour before the bell? They looked around in silence. Tyler's jaw twitched. All this time while we were mocking your investments, you were building a damn empire, Uncle Martin finished, his voice flat. Aunt Diane wiped her eyes, then stepped forward. Maya, why didn't you tell us? I met her gaze. Would you have listened? Or would you have just reminded me again that Grandpa's money wasn't for games? Before she could answer, the anchor's voice cut in. We're live in 5 with Maya Whitmore, the unexpected force behind one of the largest tech IPOs in recent memory. Shara said, You should all take your seats, guiding them toward the front row. As they settled, dazed and whispering, I straightened my blazer and checked the real-time trading board one last time. Tyler leaned forward, eyes glossy. Maya, those lectures I gave you about safe investing, Just relax, I said. He nodded quickly. You were right. I looked at him, picked up the ceremonial bell, and said, Save it. We're about to find out who really understands the market. I said it quietly as the CNBC countdown began and the cameras rolled. 5 years. 5 years of being talked over, underestimated, told I was reckless with money and foolish with dreams. Every second had led to this moment. The trading floor exploded into movement and shouts as Whitmore Nexus Capital, WNX, surged past $250 per share within the first hour. From the executive viewing suite, my family sat in stunned silence, eyes glued to the wall of market screens. $265 per share, Tyler muttered, phone in hand, trying to do the math. That means your fund is worth more than the GDP of several small countries. I know, I finished for him, sipping my espresso. Mom stared at her untouched coffee, her hands trembling as the CNBC replay looped the bell ceremony. There I was on screen, confident, calm, in command. Nothing like the irresponsible niece they used to scold at family barbecues. Dad finally spoke. Your grandfather, he knew, didn't he? I turned toward the window, smiling. He was my first advisor. That money wasn't just a gift, it was a vote of confidence. He saw what I was building long before the rest of you did. But the crypto stuff, the weird tech companies, Tyler said, his voice trailing into disbelief. All carefully researched and risk-weighted, I replied, turning back to them. While you were celebrating 8% annual returns, I was locking in 1,000% gains from frontier tech seed rounds, blockchain, neural nets, AI, quantum cloud security. You called them fads, I called them the future. Just then, Sarah rushed in, slightly breathless. We just crossed $275. Wall Street is eating it up. We're trending across every financial network. Mom finally found her voice. All those times we tried to talk sense into you, we thought you were throwing everything away. I looked at her gently. No, I was just playing a different game. You followed the rules, I changed the board. The screens lit up with a red banner. Breaking, Maya Whitmore becomes one of the youngest self-made billionaires in U.S. history. Billionaire, Tyler whispered. My little cousin is a billionaire. Dad stood suddenly, walked to the glass wall overlooking the floor below, and placed a hand on the window. He didn't turn around. I was wrong, he said, his voice low. We all were. About everything. Yes, I said simply. You were. Aunt Diane looked at me, her voice cracking. But why keep this all from us? Why not tell the family what you were doing? Because I needed the silence, I replied. I needed space to build without your doubts, without Tyler's lectures, without the guilt of not doing it the safe way. Sarah returned once more, holding a clipboard and her iPad. Maya, Bloomberg wants the first interview, and the architects are here for the final walkthrough on the new HQ tower. Do you have time? I stood slowly, adjusting my blazer. Tell Bloomberg I'll meet them at the rooftop garden. Let's give them a view of what belief looks like. And make sure the architects know I want the lobby sculpture to feature a phoenix. Dad turned to look at me, his eyes glassy. A phoenix? I smiled. It felt fitting. After all, everyone thought I'd crashed and burned. Show them to the conference room, I told Sarah. I'll be there in a minute. New headquarters? Tyler asked, trying to sound casual. 50 stories, Central Park views, I replied with a small smile. That cramped little office downtown was just a temporary workspace. Dad turned from the window. His eyes were misted with emotion. Your grandfather would be so proud. He was proud, I said softly, correcting him. He believed in me before anyone else did. He understood that the biggest returns come from backing the person everyone else underestimates. Behind them, the screen flickered again. WNX, $318 per share. The so-called wasted inheritance had grown into something beyond anything they'd imagined, beyond even what I'd imagined that first sleepless night 5 years ago when I wired the first investment. So, Tyler tried, forcing a grin, about all that investment advice I gave you back then. I picked up my tablet and gave him a polite nod. Actually, I have back-to-back meetings with international partners today, but if you're serious, I added, swiping through documents, Whitmore Nexus Capital is always hiring analysts. I glanced up. Entry level, of course. His smile faltered, his cheeks flushing as the words sank in. The cousin who had lectured me at every holiday dinner would now have to apply for a junior position at my company. I should get going, I said, slipping the tablet into my bag. Sarah will walk you out. I turned to Mom and Dad. Sunday dinner's at my place this week. I think you'll like the view from the penthouse. As I walked away, heels clicking against the marble floor, I caught Mom's voice behind me, barely a whisper. Our daughter, a billionaire. No, Dad said, his voice thick with realization. Our daughter? A visionary. I smiled quietly as I approached the conference room, Sarah already holding the door open. I thought of Grandpa Henry's final words to me on that crisp October afternoon, when the leaves were falling outside his hospital window. Don't wait for them to understand. Show them what you see. Show them the future. Now, as I watched my family, still frozen in awe, staring at the screens flashing billions in real time, I realized I had finally shown them not just wealth, not just power, but truth. Sometimes the greatest investment isn't in stocks, real estate, or mutual funds. It's in the quiet belief that you can do something no one else sees, even when the world calls you foolish, even when your own family doubts you. And sometimes that belief returns more than money ever could. I didn't build Whitmore Nexus Capital to prove anything to anyone, at least not at first. I built it because I believed in something no one else did. Not the market, not the media, and definitely not my own. But that belief, that quiet, steady conviction, was mine. And sometimes that's all it takes. If my story resonated with you, if you've ever been laughed at, underestimated, or told your ideas were too risky, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me what part hit hardest. Tell me where you are in your own journey. Maybe you're still in your version of that cramped office, waiting for your moment. Or maybe you're standing at the edge of something big, but no one else can see it yet. To those of you still waiting for recognition, don't wait for applause to begin. Don't wait for permission to build. Trust the version of you that dreams with both feet planted and your head full of impossible ideas. That version, that's the one who changes everything. And if you believe stories like this deserve a place to live, to be seen, heard, and shared, hit subscribe. Not for the drama, not for the spotlight, but because there's a generation of visionaries out there still being told to play it safe. I want this channel to be a place where we rewrite that story together. Because sometimes the greatest return isn't the money in your portfolio. It's the strength you find when you stop waiting for validation and start building your future anyway. Let's keep going. Let's keep